Good afternoon. Welcome, friends. This is Dr. Donna Marie Hunter. This is Rise and Repair Repartee with our wonderful guest, Deborah Smith Pegues. I want to read you her bio. Deborah Smith Pegues is a CPA, MBA. She's a certified Maxwell Leadership Coach, a behavioral consultant, a Bible teacher, and a global speaker. I don't know if you've heard about her book, but 30 Days of Taming Your Tongue has sold over 1 million copies. She's a frequent guest, and she also has her own show, Winning with Deborah. You may have seen that as well. Deborah, welcome. We welcome you today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you.
Deborah, I have some wonderful questions that I want to ask and just kind of get your thoughts on. First of all, the book, Leading Like a Woman or Lead Like a Woman, is absolutely great. I mean that. I know I read a lot. You probably already know that because I post a lot of what I read. And I had such a good time reading this book. One, I felt like I had a sister or a friend just talking to me about things in life and just how to kind of reframe, restructure, and how to kind of make some small changes that could have some really big results. So I want to get into some questions. And if you are ready, I want to just dive right in.
I'm ready. Let's do it. And I want to say before we even begin that a lot of people think that leadership is a man's domain. And we want everybody to know here today that we are for men. This is not a male bashing session. We want to walk hand in hand with men. No more hand-to-hand combat, hand-in-hand cooperation so we can get our destiny fulfilled. Just want to say that.
I'm glad that you said that because somehow folks think you got to be one or the other, but we are both. We are truly working hand in hand. We just want to rise in the area we can and acknowledge what we have as gifts and callings in the earth.
Okay. Absolutely.
So my first question, if you say that, then my first thought was, okay, of course I had a lot, but if I go to one of the areas that kind of rose for me was when you talked to Dr. Mullen. I don't know if you remember that. And one of the first things that she said was, as a woman, and I'll just tell you the quote, she said that one of the most difficult things or one of the hurdles that she had to overcome was leading and not feeling supported. Or not feeling like folks wanted her to lead.
Yes, Dr. Shirley Mullen is president of Houghton College, and she had just assumed a role. She had been at the college quite a while, had a good reputation, well loved, but you know that when you get into leadership, you become a target, and there will be some who may not like it that you have ascended. There'll be others who just always look for somebody to poke at. That's the price of leadership. So I tell everybody, obviously it's not for the faint-hearted, but that doesn't mean you should pursue it. So she said, when I interviewed her, what was the hardest thing? And she said, just knowing people didn't support me. So I said, how then did you deal with that? And she said, I knew I was called. And when you know that you've been called, you don't really spend any time worrying about who doesn't like it. Opinions are just, they're just there. They're going to always be there for the person out front. There's always going to be an opinion. And so she just ignored it and kept doing well because she was committed to doing an excellent job. So she just made that her focus. And she's well loved now. But initially it wasn't so. Yeah.
So that's something we also have to think about. You may go into a situation where you're not as welcome as you would like to be, and you lead through it anyways. I love that she had the courage to continue to go because some of us kind of recoil and recant and don't want to move forward. I love that she was able to continue.
Well, sometimes that's why we don't start in the first place. A lot of women will shy away from responsibilities and going to that next level. I read an article last night about that, why there are so few women, especially in corporate America, of the Fortune 500 companies, the 500 largest companies on the stock exchange. They don't have about 5% participation of women in CEO positions. And this really isn't about being a corporate leader as much as just a leader, period, because we're all exercising influence. No matter what we do, my coach, John Maxwell, says leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. So whether you are forming a bake sale for your community or something for your family, or whether you're in corporate America, you're always trying to influence somebody in a certain direction. And so we're all leaders and we're born to be that. And that's why I wanted to write a book that says, hey, there are some traits that we inherently have that position us to excel as leaders. And I'm excited about that. And so I'm sure we'll unpack that a little bit. But in the book, I talk about 12 traits that we have, but I also talk about 12 qualities that, 12, I should say, tendencies that we tend to engage that sabotage our progress. So, yeah.
Okay. So we must get to that. Also, get to the portion of at some point towards the end. I would like to talk about that innate calling, that innateness that we have as leaders, the portion of us that is there, and then how do we develop the skills outside of whatever our gift, our specific skills. Okay, so there's something also that struck me also as I read, and I don't know if you, well, I'll just tell you, I remember you saying something about the secret, because just as Dr. Mullen and now you, and you've been a leader for a very long time, you've been an author, you've been around for a minute. So what's the secret? Because people come and go, and are you still doing this work? What is it that is different about you? And Dr. Mullins, that she saw the obstacle, but she was able to reach deeper and keep going. What's the secret? What is the secret? You talk about it in the book.
Well, I talk about the secret to supreme confidence, and I think that's one of the critical components, because when you look at, Harvard has done many studies and other universities, they look at the competencies and they measure them, which ones women have, which ones men have. They discovered that women excel men in 80% of the competencies. It's really, if there were 10, they had 8 of the 10, but they didn't excel in confidence. And that's where we have to come to the table knowing that we have the goods. Because first of all, a woman will only apply for a position if she has at least, a man will apply if he has 60% of the qualifications. But their studies show that a woman will only apply if she has 100%. When a man reads requirements, they see desired. Required, no, that's just desired. But a woman says, I got to have them all. So when you see a woman at the table, she pretty much has the qualifications, all of them, all right? All the things that's needed. So we have to understand, hey, we have the goods. I'm a woman of faith, and so I rely heavily on the ancient wisdom of the Bible. And there's a scripture that talks about in Proverbs 31, and everybody knows it, whether they're a Bible student or not. But it talks about this Proverbs 31 woman who does so many things. But there's a scripture there in verse 18 that says she perceives that her merchandise is good. See, I like that. You got to know within yourself that what you bring to the table is good, and you bring it and you don't apologize for it. You don't minimize it so everybody won't be upset with you, but you don't exalt it because you know it. You just know within yourself that I have what it takes. And so confidence is rooted in that kind of knowledge. But being a woman of faith, I always help people to understand what that word confidence really means. It means with trust. So when you have trust, so I tell women, you don't need any more self-confidence. That's a worldly concept. You don't need self-confidence. You need supreme confidence. And when you know you show up and that inside of you is a spirit that knows everything's always present, how are you going to be inadequate? So that's kind of my mindset. I feel like I am adequate for every task, and I don't have to be ready when I show up. I'll show up inadequate. It's a fun thing to do. It's kind of scary, but I've actually done that. I've shown up in interviews and not even know what the subject was. I just believe that since he is with me all the time, I'm going to be adequate for the task. All right.
You're changing my mind. I mean it, because I could hear myself saying, I'm looking at the list. Well, they're going to have somebody. We come with 100% of the qualities, and yet we come with almost less than half of the confidence that says, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm well equipped. I'm well able. I can do it, but I don't necessarily even put myself in the room because I haven't given myself permission to believe. Okay,
well,
the other thing is,
and that's key. You said to believe, because see, all of our behavior comes out of a belief. And if you don't believe it, it's going to be unto you according to your faith. If you don't believe it, then you're not going to show up. You're not even going to behave in a way because you don't believe it. Because again, all behavior comes out of a belief. So when you believe you're going to be adequate, then you're going to show up. Listen, women, we got to show up. I don't care what it is. Show up outside of your comfort zone, because that's where you're really going to grow. I'm doing something right now that's outside of my comfort zone. It's not work related, but I don't stay by myself at home. And my husband is away for 8 nights. I've been counting them. He has 3 more to go. But you see, it's so out of my comfort zone. I'm like, oh, Lord, you know, but I actually worked all night one night so I wouldn't have to go to bed while it was dark.
You'll make it through. I'll make it through. I'm
Make
making
it through.
day number 8, day number 9.
And I'm doing
And it's
great.
pressing you.
I'm doing great.
It's pressing you.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, you're
Yeah.
challenging us. Okay, now, where the man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So is she.
So
So
is
if
she.
you are thinking less than, you are going to perceive that, and you're going to put that out
There you
right
go.
there at the table. If you even actually show up for the interview. But if you show
Absolutely.
up, literally,
Yeah.
you show up ready, and you
That's the
believe
first
that the
step,
gifts
though.
and callings are there.
Showing up is the first step. And what does that look like? Even if you're trying to write a book, I always say this, people say, well, I don't know what to do first. I said, well, show up at the computer with a subject and just start typing things. You don't have to do it in order. Just start typing thoughts, do a thought dump. You can do it. You really can do it.
I love that, because that's the only way I was able to do anything. I'll be honest with you, is one of the encouragements that you gave me was like, hey, you got to start doing something towards that, which you don't have to have it all perfect. Just relax and just do the something. The rest of it will grow and come. But if you just show up for life, show up for the appointment, show up for the interview, at
That's
least
right.
do that much. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, I got another one. Oh, okay, I got another one. This one's up. It's also, it's a pet peeve, because one of the things I really believe in my heart, I really believe this for women. I think I say it or I teach it. I really believe it in my heart. You don't have to compare, and you don't have to compete. There's room at the table. And in your chapter 15, about disfavoring women, wow, I felt like you hit the target. Can you speak on that one? Can you speak? I want
Sure.
that one to resonate with all of us.
Well, here's the deal. I broke the book in 2 parts. So the first part deals with the 12 things we bring to the table, and the next deal 12 tendencies we have. One of the tendencies we have is to disfavor other women, meaning we sometimes have a queen bee syndrome, and sometimes, especially when we are in a male-dominated profession and we may be the only woman in the environment, we get this little scarcity mindset. There's only room for me. I was reading the biographies, and they said that Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher had that attitude, is that no other women here. This is it. I'm it. I call it the queen bee syndrome, because the queen bee only stings the other queen bees that come to that syndrome. She will not. There was only one queen bee in a hive. Only one. And she won't fight anybody else except that one. You see, that, first of all, that's a negative attitude. That's scarcity mindset, because in my head, my destiny is already set. So I don't have to compete for my destiny. That's set. So I can be a team player all day long. And let me tell you, I've got some good mileage out of being a team player. I was at a job once, and one of the ladies that was a Harvard grad and all of that. I'm from USC MBA, but she was a Harvard MBA, and that's more esteemed, trust me, than a USC MBA. Well, let me tell you, they said, but we like you, and they fired her when she went on maternity leave, and I was just helping out. I felt so bad. They said, but no, she always has some mess going. They said, you're a team player, because I just help people that I should be competing with. You can't get my blessing. It's set, so I can help everybody. You can't think that an accolade for somebody is a strike against you. You can open doors for other people. And I have some speaker friends, when they go and speak somewhere, they'll tell them to call Deborah. When I go somewhere, I'll tell them, call her. She's available too. We share resources. Listen, people, share your resources. I know people who are so close to the best. I don't want to tell you where I got this, like, abandon that, because we need each other. Women need each other.
Awesome. And Deborah, let me just say this to you, and folks know, because I'm a fan. I really am a fan, not just a fair weather, but I really am a follower, and also just having you as part of my mentorship and loving on me. You live that. You absolutely live it, because honestly, even doing Rise Repair, it comes from you saying, you just get out there and do something. You just go and do it. And then also giving me little nuggets along the way. Now, you've even provided that on some of your YouTube. You've provided all types of learning for us out there, because you can't be there for everyone. I get it. But all of the things you've put out there, it's exactly that. This is not new. So even though, Lead Like a Woman is a new book right now coming out, but your behavior from way back has been to bring others along, making sure that we get what we need, and you're not competing. That part of it, resonates with my heart. And so, which is why I think this book is probably something all of us should use, just, as it's a reference back and forth.
Yeah.
But it's also some practical things we can do to bring other women along and make sure that we are literally living like the Proverbs. We know our merchandise is good.
That's
So
right.
why
And
are
you know what? You said it earlier.
You
You said it earlier that we don't compete. I like it when it says she perceives that her merchandise is good. You see, she's not competing or comparing. I know what I bring to the table, and I'm good with that. I tell you how silly it is to compete. Suppose you're driving down the freeway and you look over to the lane next to you and somebody's going and you start trying to outrun them. It's like, you don't even know where they're going. They have a different destination. That's how
I will beat them.
That's
and
how
they're
we
going
act.
to the zoo, and I'm going to the market, but I will beat them. You're not even in the same. You're not even going to the same destination. Oh,
See, so that's how silly it is not to add value to other women. You're just competing for no reason.
your destiny is set. You are not going the same place. Your end is already designed for you. You can go ahead and live full throttle and bring others along the way. Somebody may get on here, somebody may get off there, but just go ahead and do your thing. Okay, we got to get back to the book, because this is another one I want to talk to you about. Why do you feel that diversity? Why do you feel that? Because that was your other, big, I felt like one of the big overarching themes was, why is diversity so important in the workplace? Why in organizations? Why do women need to show up? Why do they need to show up?
It's like having one world, and it's all just you just ask one half of the world their opinion on things that affect the whole world. Diversity brings a lot more creativity. I give an example there about when I was at USC, and we had a class, and we had the professor came in one day and held up a glass, and it was like a champagne glass. How many uses can we get out of this? Think of the number of ways you can use this glass. Well, we use all kinds of things, and first we had to do it as an individual. And so I think we came up with maybe like 5 or 6 each. Then we had to do it as a group, and we came up with about 30. There's synergy in diversity and men and women coming together, because it was a mixed group. See, I put one of my uses, I said, you can use it as a biscuit cutter. And I'm thinking, there's not a man in that group that would have said that. Because I had used the glass as a biscuit cutter when I used to help my mom in the kitchen. The point is, you get all kinds of creativity. They've shown that companies that have women in leadership, or even just on the board, their market value is higher and their bottom line is higher. You want diversity. Why would you have a one note anything? And so just for that reason alone, you need to make sure, because people buy in, and other women buy in. When they go to a company and when they try to interview or they plan to interview, they look at how many women are in leadership. So you inspire people who are good to come into your environment when you have that kind of diversity. And I'm not just talking about black, white, but if it's gender diversity, if it's experience, all of that's important. It's all important.
Why would you be a one note anything, right? And why wouldn't you know? Well, nobody else would know that you can use a cup for
biscuit cutter.
Just saying. Gave us one more than we had before. And then when coming together as a team, 35% more uses for one item. Yep. Because we brought folks together with different mindsets, different backgrounds, and different beliefs. And we worked together as a team. Yeah. All right. I'm on board. I've got a couple more questions if we can get to them. You talk about the tendencies, and you talk about the tendencies that often sabotage women. The tendencies that often sabotage. What are 2 or 3 that we have? And I know we mentioned a few, but 2 or 3 things that you think we do our own self-sabotaging, or we sabotage each other?
We fail to develop executive presence. That's so important to me. If you're going to be an authority, you need to look like you're an authority. You don't need to sabotage yourself. That's so important. I see women in business who just kind of, listen, it depends on how you sound. You got to be authoritative. There's a great story in 2 Samuel 20, and it's about a woman, a very mean general was about to burn up their city. They were battering the gate. They were looking for a guy who was a fugitive there. And she said, somebody go get him and tell him to talk to me. Now, this woman had no delegated authority. She wasn't the queen or anything. But when he came, she said, Joab, are you Joab? I love this, because biblical women didn't act like this. He said, yes. She said, listen to your servant. I love that. See, once we learn how to be commanding, but in a graceful way, that's powerful for a woman. She said, listen to your servant. Listen. That's a command. But she also says, I know that I'm subject to you. Listen to your servant. And I want women to learn how to be commanding like that. And that has to do with how you sound. You know, many times you may be in a meeting and you'll put forth an idea, and a man comes and everybody's like, ho hum. A man comes along like, oh, that's a great idea. Your same thought. Maybe you didn't put it forth forcefully enough. And I teach you in the book how to take it back.
I like. Okay, just we'll do that really fast. Just one.
Okay,
because that happens a lot.
Oh, it happens a lot. That's why I put it in there. So here's what I do. I said strength and grace, right? So if Jim takes my idea and I just said that, I don't look at him and go, I just said that. I'll say, thank you, Jim, for your support. When I initially mentioned that to you, well, since I initially mentioned that to you, I also found out, See, I'm still smiling. Thank you for your support on that.
Wrong. I did wrong. Because I turned it around. I got to get the staff, take the sapphire off, take the edges off, take them hard edges off, because that's not the way I handled it. I didn't handle it. I know.
It happens all the time. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. And women I see them, they just slink back. It's like, no, don't slink back. You just put yourself there and say, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate your support on that.
Okay. And how to get out of the offense? Because I'm offended. That's like, right. But you said, take your power back, stay cognitive, don't go to the emotions.
And stop being offended. For men, it's just business. See, we'll carry that. And listen, especially if another woman does it, women hold on to stuff too long. It's just business. Men don't mix that emotional stuff with the business. It's just business. He got your idea. You put it out there. If you want it back, hey, take it.
I feel like I'm getting delivered. Because I'm like, I took it personal. I did emotionally and all that. But I feel like I'm getting delivered. I really do. Because in my mind, I'm like, you did that on purpose.
Nope, don't ascribe that like that.
No. Good idea. Switch.
Not on purpose. And in fact, don't think anything's on purpose. Don't be offended. When you've been discriminated against or disadvantaged, you don't go like, no, I listen, I'll just march right into that person's office who did it and say, now listen, I was really disappointed. I didn't get that. I wasn't given the nod for that. What do I need to do next time so that I'm, can we revisit that? Or what do I need to do? Tell me exactly, because I really want that. And I need your support to get it.
I'm learning. And I may have a attitude.
Good attitude.
I love your attitude. I love it. I feel like I have to grow up, because we have the little girls saying, take my marbles and I'm going home. I didn't get what I wanted. But you said, go in there like David did with Goliath. Go face the giant. Go have the courageous conversation and say, what do I need to do? Because I really want to be a team player. I want to lead in this company.
Right. I want to support you. I'll listen, you get me in that spot. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do my job and I'm going to support my leader. Well, who doesn't want somebody like that?
I know. Okay. We should have had this conversation before I left the education, because I probably would be running something, and that's okay. All right. I'm giving myself grace to run the next thing.
There you go.
Okay. I have another one. Okay. And this is sensitive in this time and frame. This is yesterday in this time in our country. It's very sensitive with regards to African-American Black women. Just wondering if I know you must have the obstacles that we face, they seem different. They seem definitely like we have much more to overcome. Can you talk about the obstacles that we face, and then just some thoughts about overcoming them and getting over ourselves?
Absolutely. Obviously, we face the gender bias, but beyond that, as a Black person, you got to face the racial bias. And on the gender side, you're trying hard not to perpetuate a stereotype that I'm a hysterically emotional woman, or that I can be as strong as a man. So you're trying to manage like a man, and you shouldn't. Just be the strong woman that you need to be. But on the racial side, it can be a tough one, but I don't lead with that. I don't assume that people are prejudiced. I mean, really, they almost have to call me the N-word for me to go, oh, that was racist. I just assume that I'm coming to the table very qualified. And when I was growing up, they told us you have to be twice as good to get half the credit. I bought into that. So I want to make sure that I'm excellent at things. And so if they say that I'm not, they'll have to prove that I'm not. And I don't come with an attitude. I don't look for racism under every rock. If I don't get something, I don't say, I think you're being racist. I'll just say, I need you to reconsider that, or help me to understand the logic that went into that. Because I just really want to know. I need to stay motivated. Sometimes I've said, that was kind of demoralizing. I need to hear something else so that I can, I really want to stay motivated because I know I'm good at what I'm doing. And so as a minority, you try not to, you need to understand culture. This is what I find that most minority women didn't do. Understand corporate culture. Some things aren't racism. They're just how they operate, even down to the point as to how you pack for a business trip. Listen, I was on a board and the culture was, if you checked luggage, you were not a sophisticated traveler. We would go for those 3-day board meetings. Nobody packed luggage. Everybody had a small carry-on because sophisticated people don't drag matching shoes and matching purses and matching outfits. You bring one pair of black pants and 2 tops. It's simple stuff like that. Understand the culture and network. Don't network. I'm really big on that. I'm cross-cultural. I am cross-cultural all forever. And I've been in places where they totally ignored me. I went to work for a company and they put me in a high position because they needed a minority there to get a government contract. I didn't even know the job really, but I applied for it because I'm not one of these people who think you got to have all the qualifications. Well, the net was nobody invited me to lunch. That lasted about a week. One day I saw them all gather for lunch and I just got my purse on my arm and I said, "Do you guys mind if I join you?" Who's going to tell me no? And let me tell you, I felt it was incumbent upon me to let them know I was not a hostile Black person. Even though I was an affirmative action hire and they were putting that down, I found out I had more qualifications than everybody. Everybody else had a bachelor's in business. I was a CPA and an MBA. I perceived that my merchandise was good.
Woo! With your black shoes on and black jacket. And I'm just like, what? What do you mean? You mean don't? I won't even tell you some of the things I wish I had talked to you about 20 years ago. I really do. I wish. And so I'm so glad that the ladies and women and family are on right now. They're hearing it. But I say your book says it in such a way that it's easily entreated and that your heart doesn't go like, well, of course, I still have a problem with matching shoes and trying to take everything with me. I'm getting better. I'm taking carry-ons now. But no, that's not what I did. My first trip, I had a trunk just for shoes.
No.
Just for shoes. And you can ask the superintendent because he was like, what's in there? And I thought my shoe bags. So I really did it.
Yeah.
We were going to Gettysburg and I had a trunk for shoes. It is still noted in my school district.
Well, and that's part of our culture to dress up.
I don't do it now, but I did it.
But Donna, that's part of our culture to dress up because they say, listen, even if you don't have anything, look like you got something. So, hey.
What can you do? Yeah. But that matchy thing, I got to get delivered. I got to get delivered on that matchy because that's over. That's way over. And I know, okay, so Deborah, I love talking with you. Our time is just about ending, but I always ask our guests, one, to close us, your final thoughts. You had some truly some wonderful nuggets for us today and on every area. And the one I'm thankful that you were able to talk about, the class as well as the sexism and all those things that you may go through, but you have to rise above it knowing that your merchandise is good. So
that's right.
Perceiving your merchandise is good. But would you give us some closing thoughts and then we'll do our closing notes.
Listen, every woman out there is born to lead. Doesn't mean that you have to have delegated authority, but wherever you can use your influence, use it. Don't be intimidated by anybody or any set of circumstances. As long as you have the supreme being in your corner, you are supremely able to handle whatever comes. And so just get out there and do it. Get out of that comfort zone. You can do this.
Wow, that's supreme confidence. Not the trust in yourself, but trust in your God to get you exactly where you need to be because your destiny and your calling is sure. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you very, very much. We so appreciate you. Thank you. And we want to make sure that folks can get in touch with you. So we will put it, and we're putting it in the comments right now. Your website is www.deborahpegues.com, and that's Pegues. But we're putting it in the comments because I want to make sure that folks get it. The other thing is the link to your book. I really believe that in this day and time and season, having it a tool to come back to encourage us during the season, individually, collectively, and just accepting and loving on one another, it's invaluable. We would like to make sure we share that as well.
Thank
Is that
you.
okay?
Yes, absolutely. And it's wherever books are sold. So Amazon, wherever, my website, it'll direct you right there. So you'll be
Okay,
able to get it.
we can get it on Amazon, or we can follow the link from your website. Okay. Well, thank you, friends. Thank you for joining us. We've had a wonderful time. We appreciate coming in, joining us today. Please, if you need to, look us up, or I should say, get in touch with us at Allie's Allies, or get in at drdonnamariehunter.com. We're here as a resource to you to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage you to be your best self and do your greatest work in the earth. We thank you, and we want to say good night, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, friends.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.